Hi, everyone, and welcome to Elite Rugby SandC podcast. First off, if you haven't already, sign up and join Elite Rugby SandC. We provide you with all your strength, conditioning, speed, and recovery needs. You can try before you buy, so try our 7-day, $7 trial to get a taste of what we offer here at Elite Rugby SandC. So take your game to the next level, become a beast, and join our community today. G'day, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you, Kieren. Looking forward to the Six Nations kicking off, Super Rugby trials. For us rugby nerds, it's a great weekend. What's going on with you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. And yeah, again, very excited, just like you said, with the Six Nations Super Rugby kicking off. And then also a few of my athletes playing up in the Sydney comps. They got some trial games and their season's about to kick off as well. So it's very exciting as a coach to see all the hard work in the preseason being done and they're ready to take it, put all that hard work into play.
Yeah, nice.
So today we are going to talk about what does it take and how to get on the radar. So we're going to use a scenario of a person named Jimmy. It's just a random name that I've just thought of. And we're going to see his journey from the 16s rugby academy all the way up to the main squad of, let's say, for instance, of a Super Rugby team. And we're going to talk about each level and our personal experiences and some good examples of local talent down here in Canberra who have gone on to higher honours as well. So little Jimmy is in the under 16s rugby academy. So my question to you, Ben, is what does the junior academy setting look like? What are the expectations and how do athletes maximize this opportunity that they have?
Yeah, so it sounds like a simple question, but it's actually quite complex there. Every environment will be different. You think in a smaller town, it's a little bit easier where they can actually get them together a couple of times a week and actually train them. If you're going to the bigger cities, well, it's going to be more remote and they come in occasionally. So in the perfect scenario, they'd be coming in a couple of times a week. So you're a 16-year-old Jimmy. Jimmy likes playing rugby, and he's pretty good at rugby. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there. So he's showing some potential at this stage. But Jimmy doesn't know what Jimmy doesn't know, and Jimmy needs to be led on learning how to train. So at this stage, he's learning to train. Okay, so there'd be expectations on a couple of gym sessions a week that are more full body. There'd be some expectations around improving skills and improving skills under pressure. And what is probably the hardest part for most school or club football players as a junior, they have to realise that just because they're big at that age group doesn't make them big, and that conditioning and decision making and work ethic will get you to the next level. All of a sudden, you've been a big fish in probably a small pond. The pond's got bigger, and the people in the next pond are bigger, and it's a bigger pond. So you've got to learn where you really are and what you can achieve. So there's a big learning curve going on, and the academy setup is there to actually develop those traits, but it's to be also a filter for investment. So if someone can't commit and work hard, right, then there's an opportunity for them to discover, is it right for them at this stage? Now, you've been through something like this before, so I wanted to ask you your experience as, say, a junior around that age in an academy setup, and what was your mindset and what happened to you personally when you came into that setting?
Yeah, so my experience was with the National Talent Squad, as it was called back in the day. And I was one of the younger ones with my friend Andrew. And we were called in around 14 and a half, I think I was. And same was Andrew. And we were training with 15, 16s and 17-year-olds. So it was a big shock to the system. I didn't even know this talent squad was around. So coming into the squad, I was a bit chunky, but I was pretty good at the game of rugby. Don't want to brag too much, but yeah, I was pretty good. back then, and under 13s and 14s, as most people remember themselves. They were pretty good back then. So yeah, it's just being a prop, and a number 8 back then was doing quite well. So I got called into the squad and didn't know what to expect. I was just showing up to the trainings. I saw all this professionalism around Brumbies HQ, and got to see some of the Brumbies. I was like, whoa, this is really awesome. So it was a couple of trainings. I think it was 3 trainings a week. We did a field speed session. We did some gym stuff, which was mainly just body weight exercises, and then an uppers and lowers as well in there, and plenty of core work. And we had some conditioning and skills work as well. But the expectations were really high. Like, you're coming in there and you're part of some of the best talent in Australian rugby. So it's either you do the work or you get let go and we find someone else. And that's where it sort of came to me. Whereas after I think it was 4 months, I was let go of the academy because I didn't meet the fitness requirements. That was pretty shit. That I did not like that. I was very upset that it happened. Didn't really cope with it too well for the short term, but then I realized that I really had to put the work in to get back to it, because I really enjoyed those training sessions, and it helped me think that yes, I can make a career out of rugby as well. So when I got kicked out, I went to work and worked on my game, got fitter. Probably didn't get as fit and strong as I could have, but I think that was due to a lack of guidance in sort of S&C, because at the school level, we didn't really have anyone. It was just left up to the clubs to give you a piece of paper and you can go do that yourself, like thing. So we didn't really have any guidance to help me improve my fitness. So it was sort of left up to me, and then just worked hard and made the representative teams again, and really proved myself that I could get back to that high level. Was unfortunately never got back into the academy settings, but I did play state level rugby for a few, like probably 4 or 5 years after that, and it was still rewarding just to get a bit of a shock to the system, wake up to yourself and say, oh damn, I really need to work hard at this to get back to where I wanted to be. So yeah, it was a really good experience, but it was it was a hard experience, but it opened my eyes up to say that, hey, you actually got to work for this.
Yeah, and that's probably why I said when you come in, Jimmy doesn't know what Jimmy doesn't know, and it's a bit of a learning curve there. I think knowing that you can come back in and make basically work really hard to reach that next level is good. Probably a really good time now is there's a lot more guidance and support there, or even we can help people out that are looking to do that, or if people are parents and they've got children that are looking to have that extra hand, you know, there is support now. So I really like the fact that you got down for a little while, then you went, oh, maybe it's me and I can work on me, which is pretty hard for a learning curve. Yeah.
Pretty hard when you're only like 15, you still don't know anything, and you just got to figure out that it's you, and then find the people in your lives that can help you, and then but it just comes back to you, and if you're willing to put the work in to get the result.
Really good.
So moving on from the junior academy, let's say Jimmy has now graduated to the senior academy. So what are the new expectations he has to face, and how do athletes make the most of this opportunity now in the senior academy?
Yeah, so senior academy is a true time. You are meant to be one of the better players in, say, the local club competition. Some people are a little bit younger when they come into it, and there's huge expectations on them to also perform well in a first grade level. It'd be pretty rare, I'd say, in a smaller town for them to be playing under 20s. That's not our aim. There might be some positions where that happens, but you're not going to get into the senior academy if they think you're still developing in Colts or you can't play first grade. So your workload goes up. So you really are, if performing well, the next draw card for a Super Rugby team. Okay. So after a couple of years, if you've been successful, you'll get to do pre-seasons with a Super Rugby team. So that's the idea. That's the level R. You're the cover and an opportunity to develop while the Wallaby players aren't available in a pre-season. So the expectations are you'll probably be training 3, more likely 4 nights a week, and that's after school. And your training sessions will be an narrow field and narrow gym mixed up. So you're going to go from probably, training at a club a couple of times a week in your own gym to expectations of gym and field 3 nights a week at least, with a possible 4th session as well. So you've gone up to actually training for 8 hours a week, but under big demands. Okay, and now you're going to be judged in terms of how well you are developing and how well you are prepared. And if you're adhering to things like checking in, putting in your data, watching your vision that you're meant to, cutting your own clips for your rugby, and also knowing where you are in your benchmarks in all different physical areas and what you need to work on. So it is, you think of, say, school, yeah, great. Now you're jumping into an apprenticeship. So you're not quite there, you're an apprentice and you have to earn your keep, but you get a lot of resources to do that as well and a lot more guidance. Except you've got this opportunity to do it while you're working and studying. So and it's designed in a way so that if people really want it, they can still work and study and still train hard. So it wants to see those people, and the academy setups are designed as a filter for those that really do want it, because no longer will it just be talent that will make it to the next level. It's got to be talent with a huge desire and why. And that's how the academy works. But you also get wonderful medical support there as well, nutrition advice. The amount of support and education you get truly jumps up as well.
So for a player looking on the outside in, so just a person, let's say, for example, the local comp here in Canberra is the John O'Dent Cup. They're up and coming and playing first grade or playing consistent first grade. How are they going to take that next step to get into that senior academy? What would you suggest?
Well, that's all performance-based. Yeah. Well, you've got to be a really good rugby player. You've also got to have the ability to be resilient to, workload. And so people, what they'll do, you think of, I'm thinking with just my last environment, you think Dan McKellar and Lord will go out and watch games. Their lens when they watch you, right, will be, are you almost there? Okay. Not how much time do we have to develop in you? You say the head academy coach will take a look at that to get you into the academy. But those high level guys, the coaches will look through the lenses. What is the percentage they are off Super Rugby? If you're too far of a percentage in terms of your work rate, getting off the ground, you can't do multiple efforts, you won't get looked at as well. So the academy coach will look at your potential to be developed, right, and how far off and how many years that possibly will be. But the Super Rugby coaches will be going, how far away from now are they ready to go? And if you're a long way away, there's less likely. Okay. So, yeah, it's tough, but there's no qualities there as well. If you're bouncing off the ground, getting up quickly, you're working hard, you've got some level of desire and work rate, that plus talent, that will shine out.
So it really sounds like athletes who are at that level playing first grade, no matter where you are, and wanting to get to that next stage, you really need to evaluate your game and understand what makes you a really good player. So if you're a winger and you're really, really fast and got quick feet and good hands, you need to keep sharpening that sword and making sure that it's really, really good and trying to improve 1% each time. And then it's also understanding what are the areas that you're not so good at. Is it second efforts? Is it getting off the ground? Is it just being a good teammate as well? So being really harsh on yourself and knowing what works and what isn't working at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And there's some clubs that have some really good support programs, like what you've done at West, setting up an academy in different places. We won't go into all of them, but you've actually got to seek out some help as well in that area. So if your club's not providing it, like any career, you're in charge of your career. If that's what you want to do, seek help and advice and take it on and do some extras. You're not going to see someone that cuts down trees not sharpen their chainsaw just because it's a day off. It's really got to put in on those other days as well, and be a student of not only rugby, but be a student of performance. What does lead to better performance? If that means you have to upskill yourself from knowing what strength and conditioning is, knowing a physio process, knowing what nutrition is, knowing how much to sleep, there's plenty of resources out there. And if there's not, seek them. Just make sure that you've got that opportunity and enjoy it too. Like I was listening to a podcast that involved Ash Bart, his performance coach, and one of his things was going back to the moment when you're a child and your happiest times, and just bringing that type of energy. So enjoy the process of getting better, but be relentless with trying to get better as well.
Totally agree with that. Enjoying the process of unlocking more potential and like new features that you get to then show off and really take your game to the next level. Yeah. So Jimmy, he has now graduated from the senior academy and is now in the main squad. So for Jimmy, how does becoming a part of the main squad a lot different compared to the senior academy, and how does he maximize his potential?
Yeah. So with that, Jimmy's probably got there and probably done a pre-season or two or even three. So he's had a taste of that. So now the competitive environment that you trained in, out on the field and out in the gym and stuff, the level's gone up. So the amount of work that you have to do to stay fresh and stay healthy doubles. You've got a lot more support and everything there. But Jimmy would have had to really work hard in the academy to develop workload tolerance, because in the case that they are expected to do has gradually gone up. So you might be used to, doing a gym and field session in a day. You might have a units, field, and gym in that day. So you might go from, like a long session or 2.5 hour session, including gym and field with a little break and so forth. So you might end up doing 3.5 hour days of actual training. So with that comes some painful times for the first few weeks. So most programs, really good programs, as you enter that, are cognizant if that's what you need to do, and they might give you a month to 6 weeks of slowly not integrating you with everything, but slowly building you up. So it's a really good saying, everyone wants to be a professional rugby player until they have to train like them. It really does sort them out. So you've just got to be prepared for the price of your dream and goal is heavy, because you're going to be competing against really, really good athletes and then really, really good opposition. So that demand and that standard goes up, and then particularly the tactical and awareness that you have to have, and learning moves and learning calls and learning the environment which people have to operate in goes up. So it's a stressful period, but it's an exciting period.
And it seems like once you're taking or going to each level, you're becoming more and more of a student of the game. You're watching more film. You're starting to learn from professional athletes who have been there for a while, and you're starting to learn their skills that they do and how they analyze the game. So it really feels like you got to do everything that we just talked about, but you got to be watching rugby quite a bit and learning from all those more senior players and who have been around a lot longer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to look like you belong. So what that means is people have these standards of what a junior academy and senior academy and professional and then international from a physical point of view. I'm a big believer of you should always be performing at the level above where you are. because when you go to that next level, you belong. So if your strength expectations as a junior, you should be aiming for that more first year senior. If your strength and fitness and speed expectations in that academy setting, you should be aiming for what they are as a professional or a Super Rugby player. If you're a Super Rugby player, you should be playing for aiming to get them to an international standard. Because every time you have an opportunity to step up that ladder, people like the strength and conditioning coaches, the coaches, and the other players go, "Oh, he belongs here physically. That's not an issue. It's the technical and tactical stuff that can go, but he can survive and thrive in the workload demands that we have."
Totally. And for our listeners, definitely keep an eye out for one of our next episodes talking about those physical and conditioning standards and benchmarks for Super Rugby International and also Clubland as well. So from our talk today,
from your experience, say quite recently with club players, and you've had some success with getting club players to higher levels, what's some of the ways that you've been able to have conversations and steer their training and their thoughts around that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So it's really having an open and honest relationship with that player. Like, do you want to make it to the next level? Or it's just something that seems like, yeah, I've just sort of dreamed about it as a kid, but is it really what you want to do? And if it's really what you want to do, then you're going to be prioritizing your training, your recovery, nutrition, and sleep over everything else. You're going to be making those sacrifices to not go out and party and spend time with friends and family because hey, I got to wake up in the morning and train, or I got to train later that night and then recover. A good example is probably Declan Meredith. So he came down to West a few years ago, and he was small, but he was very agile and quick. And I saw a lot of potential in him, and he had that conversation with myself and the club. Like, I want to try and make it with rugby. I want it to be my livelihood, of my career. So we had that conversation throughout the year of how I can help him, and then we noticed he was a bit small, so we slowly added on size. It's not like we just put on 5 kilos over a month, because if you do that, it would have affected him negatively. And things about his game was he was really fast and agile, had a really good step. So we slowly progressed his strength and power, which complemented his speed. It didn't impact it or anything like that. It complemented and made him a better rugby player. So yeah, we had those conversations, and there was many setbacks with a few injuries and all that, but he just kept being determined to push for that squad and knocking on the door, asking the right questions and putting in the work as well. And he became a really big student of the game, and then was rewarded with the preseason that's just come past with the Brumbies to train in that senior squad, and then play and start in the first trial game, which was just last week as well. So it was really cool from an academy setting where, okay, yep, he showed up, he put in the work, he was always there. He was always there at the gym, even though some of his housemates didn't show up, and I was very disappointed in them for not showing up. He was always there, putting in the work, even if I had to leave right on time because it was my time to go, he would stay back and do some extras, even though most of the time those extras were biceps and triceps. It did work out because he did fill out that Brumbies jersey quite well, I must say, last weekend. But yeah, it just shows you that he was willing to move down to Canberra from Cairns, away from family and friends, to try and achieve a dream of his to play at a Super Rugby level. And he is currently really knocking on that door to push and to make his Super Rugby debut. And it's going to be really exciting to see how the season pans out for him. But even if that dream doesn't happen, he is going to play really well in the John O'Dane Cup for the next several weeks when the comp does start. And yeah, it just shows you how much hard work and determination can really help you get to where you want to be. Because if you don't work hard and don't want it, it's not going to come for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always nice when if you're moving to Cairns and Canberra straight away, there's some motivation there.
Yeah, totally. So with our talk today, it just comes back to you got to have a really good work ethic. You got to be disciplined. You got to be determined, and you got to be willing to make some sacrifices in order to excel in the junior academies, then to the senior, and then into a main squad if you're able to achieve that as well. I think you got to be really open and honest with yourself about where you are currently, where you want to go, and how you are going to get there as well. Having a lot of support, like an SandC program like Elite Rugby SandC, can really help you achieve those goals and put you in the right direction as well. You also need to, like we stated before, evaluate your game. So just making sure that you know what works for you. If that's your speed, bang, you need to sharpen that sword, but you also need to look at what's not going well and then seek out the resources to improve that area of your game as well. So is there any sort of final thoughts that you had, Ben, for this episode today?
Yeah, I think you're always going to get some setbacks, and people might not see your value, and that's okay. You go away and work harder. You will get injuries because it's a contact sport. Okay, so just remember that you can come back from that. Also, what a great time in the world. There's a possibility where you can get a sport that you love as a kid and turn it into a career, and if not a career, a passion for the rest of your life. So what an absolute honor to chase a dream and be part of a really good sport. So yeah, how good.
No, 100% agree. So thanks for everyone for tuning in today for episode 11. Remember to like, subscribe, and rate Elite Rugby SandC on Spotify and YouTube, and then also follow us on Instagram as well. So sign up today to become a beast via our link in the description or via our YouTube page or Instagram page as well. So don't wait, make that good decision, join Elite Rugby SandC and take your game to the next level. So thank you everyone, and thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Kieren. Well done, mate.